Welcome in, grab a seat, let's begin. It's Teaching Tuesday where the magic's within. Unlock the words, let the stories unfold. In a world of letters, watch the wonders take hold. Come on in, let's learn and grow. Build the future word by word, row by row. Together we'll read, together we'll rise. On Teaching Tuesdays, we'll open our eyes. Every sound, every line brings us closer to turning our learners into super prosers. Phonics and fun, on a journey we'll lead. With every Tuesday, we plant another seed. Come on in, let's learn and grow. Build the future word by word, row by row. Together we'll read, together we'll rise. On Teaching Tuesdays, we'll open our eyes. Step by step, we'll find our way. Through every challenge, come what may. In our group, you're never alone. Together we'll turn this skill into a stone. Come on in, let's learn and grow. Let's learn and grow. Build the future word by word, row by row, row by row. Together we'll read, together we'll read, together we'll rise, together we'll rise. Teaching Tuesdays, the skies.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Teaching Tuesdays with me, your host, Katina Taylor, the founder and CEO of Dreams KC, an education nonprofit based right here in Kansas City, Missouri. But we touch everyone across the United States. We empower parents with the tools they need to teach their children foundational literacy skills. So welcome. I'm so excited to be with you all this evening. I am coming on later than normal, just before our regularly scheduled time, which is 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time every Tuesday. Whether it's live or pre-recorded, we do meet you here on our YouTube channel and inside our private Facebook group, Literacy the Dreams Way. I had some news and I had to process that, but I did not want to leave you all hanging. I had already prepped and prepared, and so I wanted to ensure that I brought you the tips, the tools, the strategies you would need to support your children in becoming confident and competent readers. So again, welcome. I'm so excited to have you all with me today. Bear with me that we are going to move through this. If I don't see my normal self, please be understanding and grant me some grace as we navigate this. All right. So again, this is episode 54 of Teaching Tuesdays. For those of you that may be new to the YouTube channel and or the group, 54, that means 54 weeks, whether we were live, whether we were pre-recorded, we were inside for the first 50 something weeks. We were inside our private Facebook group, which started out Reading the Phonics Way. We changed the name to Literacy the Dreams Way because literacy is so much more than phonics, and we wanted to be true to the science of reading, structured literacy, and what we know to be true and accurate for reading or building confident and competent readers. So I am a veteran educator. I was in the classroom for 15 years. I've been in the education space for 25 years. So I definitely have taught many students to read, not only in the classroom, but as a tutor, an advocate, a parent supporter as well. Students that have IEPs, students that have 504 plans, all of the things. I started out teaching middle school, English language arts. Then I taught first grade, and I finished up my teaching career in high school. I've taught in traditional public schools, charter schools, as well as the private school sector. So many you say, who are you? Why do I need to listen to you? What do you know? And what I will say is I've always been able to move the literacy journey of students, shrink gaps, eradicate gaps as it relates to literacy. And so I wanted to ensure that I shared with parents, the first and most important teachers of children, the strategies, the tools, the tips that they would need to build confident and competent readers, as well as early career educators, early childhood educators, or educators anywhere in their career that want to hone in on the proven data driven strategies to support literacy growth in children. So that's who I am. This is the work that we do, and it's steeped, and I sit on the firm belief that literacy is liberation, and that mantra is backed up by the words of Frederick Douglass that says, once you learn to read, you are forever free. So again, this is episode 54. I'm so excited that you all have decided to join me. Please drop questions, comments, anything that may not be clear, any triumphs that you may have, successes that you may have, challenges, anything you want to ask about, drop it in the chat. And if you catch this on replay, put hashtag replay in the comment section. I just want to know that it is a benefit to you all. If there's something that I can do to make it more beneficial, more valuable, let me know that as well. I can take constructive criticism and feedback because I can grow always. I'm a lifelong learner, but more importantly, I want to do what's best for you, those that I seek to serve. All right. That being said, we are going to hold on. There we go. My cord was stuck, so I want to make sure that's good. We're going to dive into our content for today. I won't be with you long. We're going to go ahead and get right to it. All right. And oh yes, I forgot I threw the slide in here. Just a reminder that our decodable book set that covers short vowel sounds is now available for purchase. You can scan the QR code, or you can go to www.dkcbooks.com and make a purchase. Remember that any purchase you make, the proceeds flow back into Dreams KC. And of course, we are an education nonprofit, so we serve families in the best way that we know how, generally at little to no cost. And so your purchases support the work. All right. Yes. So what are we talking about today? Let me go ahead. I'm going to make this a little bigger for my eyeballs, and hopefully you all can see it really well as well. So again, my name is Katina Taylor, and I want to welcome you to episode number 54 of Teaching Tuesdays. Tonight, we're talking about something that truly opens doors for children, especially our adolescent learners, right? And that is vocabulary. If you've ever wondered how to tell if your child really, really understands the words that they read or use, then tonight is for you. So we want to jump into it. You're going to learn some practical, parent-friendly strategies to assess your adolescent literacy learners' word knowledge at home. At home. So you don't have to depend on the school, your classroom teacher, the English teacher to do it. You can do it at home in the blink of an eye, and then create a plan to support their growth or expansion of their vocabulary right at home, working with them. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. I want you to know, first and foremost, that when you show up to these Teaching Tuesday sessions, when you show up to any of my in-person classes, you are making a difference for your children. Just being here, right? Giving depth or learning more to support your children. That's what it's about. That's why we do the work. So supporting your child's reading journey, it doesn't require a degree. Anyone can do it. As long as you are consistent and intentional and careful, applying the tips and the strategies that you learn. Okay. So tonight is all about equipping you with the tools to assess vocabulary at home, as I said, especially for our adolescent literacy learners. And remember, adolescence doesn't just mean teens. In the education space, adolescent means fourth grade and above. So those are the students that we are addressing tonight. But remember, even if you have students pre-K to third grade, you can still benefit. The materials, the supplies, the word list, things like that will change, but the strategies, if in fact they're ready, they certainly are the same. All right. So the skills are the skills, the materials and supplies, and some of the strategies that we use to teach them may differ depending on the age and grade level of your children. All right. So I just wanted to let you all know that. So why does vocabulary matter? Why should we focus on vocabulary instead of the phonics, the phonemic awareness, the comprehension, which is the ultimate goal of reading? Well, because it actually makes your student, your child, you as an individual as well, a stronger thinker, a more critical thinker, right? So it builds those critical thinking abilities. It also makes us better writers. I've said many, many times, and I will continue to say that reading and writing do not happen in isolation from each other, but they really intersect and build upon one another. The better reader we become, the better writer we become. The better writer we become, the better readers we become. So all of those, both of those things are important, and they are not independent of each other. They are really dependent upon one another. And of course, a stronger reader. Word knowledge is the foundation of comprehension. If you don't understand the words in a text, not just word calling, decoding them, but actually understanding what they mean, then you can't get to comprehension, which of course is the ultimate goal of reading. Meaning making is what I say, right? So vocabulary impacts every other academic area, core subject area, science, social studies, math, etc. Not just language arts or English language arts or communication arts, however you all phrase that in your district or school, but it really is the building block for all academic success. So I hope that makes sense for you all, and let's keep it moving. So when we think about vocabulary, when we think about assessing vocabulary, building vocabulary, what are we really looking for our adolescent literacy learners, right? What are we looking for? So there are four things that we'll talk about assessing. One being the receptive vocabulary, right? Can they understand the words that they hear or read? Do they know what they mean? Right? Can they comprehend these words? Next, we talk about expressive vocabulary. Can they use words correctly? Have you ever met someone and they want you to know how expansive and sophisticated their vocabulary is, and they use the words all wrong? Yeah. So they know some words, but they don't know what they mean, and they don't know what they don't use them accurately in writing and or speaking. So their expressive vocabulary is lacking, right? Next, we want to think about morphology. Do they understand word parts like prefixes, suffixes, word roots, etc.? Do they understand them? Can they put them together and then tell you what that word that has been created means? Again, meaning making, right? Last but certainly not least is context clues. Can they read some text and figure out unfamiliar words that are introduced in the text based on what surrounds it, the surrounding words, how it's used in context, right? So it may be an unfamiliar or a new word, but they can use those context clues, the way in which it is used in context, to determine or infer its meaning. So those are the things we are looking for to determine if a child, a student, an adolescent literacy learner, right, has mastered and is growing their knowledge of vocabulary. And that's what we also assess. We want to assess to ensure that they are mastering all four areas, not just one, not just two, but all four. And once we determine that, then we put strategies and plans in place to support them if they are weak or have some challenges or difficulties in any of those particular areas. So I hope that makes sense. You can screenshot this. You can jot this down in your notes. You can come back and watch it again. It'll be right here. Now, I will say that Facebook has changed once again some of their rules and regulations. So videos that have been done in our group that are older than 30 days, I am now getting messages that those videos will be deleted. However, Katina plans. Yes, she does. So I use a third-party tool to go live, and that automatically records our videos. And the new videos, since we started in 2025, are all on YouTube as well. So if you need to access some previous content or understand that this video that I'm doing today in 30 days won't be here, take notes, screenshot, or go over to YouTube. Make sure you like that channel, follow that channel, and you'll be able to access it. Or send me a message, DM me, and I can tell you that I have those also in a separate place. All 54 of our weeks of content, I have them. They're accessible if you need them. All right, so let's keep moving. I just want to let you all know that. So you guys have seen this figure before. It's Tolman's Hourglass figure. And I learned about this when I took my LETRS training, or probably prior to LETRS training, actually. But Dr. Carol Tolman is the author of this. And so I always want to make sure that I give you all references so that you understand this isn't my work. This is built around structured literacy, the science of reading, etc. But when we talk about vocabulary, what we're talking about is the bottom portion of the hourglass figure. That means that our students have independently demonstrated an understanding of all of those skills at the top of the hourglass. They've gotten to a place where they can connect sounds and letters, which connects the two parts of the hourglass together. And now we're down at the bottom and really around morphemes, etymology, orthography, etc. That's where we are when we are talking about vocabulary development. That doesn't mean the vocabulary development doesn't happen throughout the hourglass figure. It does, because they are working with oral and written words throughout the process. However, we zone in and make sure that they are building that vocabulary base the further down the hourglass figure we go. Hope that makes sense, right? So we are talking about advanced comprehension. We're talking about expanding and growing their vocabulary and their basic reading skills. So vocabulary bridges the basic reading skills and higher level comprehension, right? All of these things operate, I say scaffold, but I really say like a staircase, right? And so early on in our videos and our content each week, I talked about when we're younger, we're more agile, we're faster, we're not afraid. So we'll run up or down a set of stairs. We may skip 2 or 1 here and there, and that's okay. You don't get hurt. You don't fall down, all the things. As you get older, you get a little slower, maybe a little bit less inflexible. Fear sets in for whatever the reason. So if you're going up and down a flight of steps and you skip 1 or 2 or 3, God forbid, and you fall, that's a problem. And so when we think about this hourglass figure, when we think about our literacy skills, we don't want to skip steps, because eventually we will fall. We will have an issue moving through our literacy journey because we've skipped some steps. And so we want to ensure that our students, our children, are picking up every facet of the literacy journey, all of the skills, and they are demonstrating mastery. I hope that makes sense to you all. Good evening. Good evening. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. I'm glad to see Alexandra, Michael, Sherry. How you doing? If you guys have any questions, feel free to share, ask in the comments, drop a question if you need clarity. If you want to push me in my thinking, feel free to do that. All right. So when we think about vocabulary development as it relates to structured literacy or the science of reading, you know, those are terms that we hear all the time now. What we're really talking about is explicit, intentional, consistent, systematic instruction. We want to be clear that whether it's in the classroom or whether we're supporting them at home, that we are intentional, we are consistent, we are explicit, and we are using a system of instruction to move them along that journey. So when we think about our vocabulary specifically, we're going to assess them, figure out what they need, and then we develop a plan to address any weaknesses, any gaps, any challenges that they may be having in building their vocabulary skills. We want to be explicit, right? We're going to teach directly word structures and meanings rather than hoping they figure it out. No, we're not going to do that. If we know that they're having a problem with prefixes or suffixes or, words that are specific to science or social studies, we want to drill down on those words. If they're reading something and you notice that they are asking or they're not quite clear when you ask those comprehension questions, what something means or what that text was about, it could revert back to a gap in their vocabulary. So we want to ensure that we are explicitly teaching that, explaining those things, etc. And then, of course, word structure. So we want to break words into meaningful parts to build understanding and retention. When they get those prefixes, when they get those suffixes, when they get the common word roots, you will see them blossom as readers and writers. And this, of course, is data driven. It has been proven that if we teach it this way, if we support them in this way, they then blossom as literacy learners. All right. So if you guys have any questions, any comments, remember to drop them in the chat. I'm listening. I'm looking. So if you see my head kind of like I'm in a tennis match because I have another device, I'm making sure that I can see anything that you all are dropping in. So you kind of got this baseline information. Now you say, okay, Katina, I got it. I understand why vocabulary development is important. I understand what areas we're going to zone in on to assess, but how do I do the assessment? I'm a parent. I haven't been to school. I don't have a degree. Or I'm an early career educator. That wasn't taught in my program. What do I need to do to assess vocabulary at home? I'm glad you asked, because now we're going to get into the meat of it, okay? So we got 3 things. I'm going to show you examples of each, and I have some resources. I'll have a QR code that you can link to those resources and then utilize those to assess at home. Now, remember, we're talking about adolescent literacy learners. So every example that you see will be for students 4th grade and above. But you can do this with our earlier literacy learners. It just will be done in a different way. All right, but so let's dive in. So one of the things that we can do is multiple choice, or what we call matching, right? So you'd create a simple matching activities, words and definitions, and that tests their receptive knowledge. Now, remember, receptive vocabulary. Can they understand the words they hear or read? That's what we would be assessing with that matching activity. How would you do this with younger kids? Give them a picture, give them some words. Can they match them, right? So more visual cues. But with our older students, we want words, we want definitions. Can they match them? Then you have a context clues check. Read some sentences with challenging words. Challenging, not easy, not words they've already mastered. And because we're pushing them. Now, we're not frustrating them, but we certainly want to extend them. We want to push them. We want to set a high standard for them. And we want to ask them to determine the meaning from the context, the words around them. Okay, the words around those unfamiliar or newly introduced words. Can they use the context clues to figure those out? All right, that is another thing that we want to assess around vocabulary. And last but certainly not least for this part, we also want to have a confidence rating scale. So you'll have a list of about 5 to 10 words. You'll read a word, or you might have a flashcard. You want to show that word, and you're going to ask your child to rate their familiarity with the word. Never heard it, to can use it confidently. And then you want to actually test that, right? You want to say, okay, you got it. Give me a sentence using that word, to ensure that they are using the word correctly. Now, what does this look like in practice? These are the 3 different ways in which we can assess the receptive, the context clues, and the definitions, right? So that receptive, expressive, and context clues. So this is what it looks like. This is an example for 6th grade students, right? So you give them some words, you have the definition. Can they match them? Is that drawing a line? Is that having a set of flashcards with words, a set of flashcards with the definitions, and they actually make it hands-on activity where they're matching them, right? So you give them the instructions, match each vocabulary word on the left with the correct definition on the right. Then you can choose one of the words and use it in your own sentence. Very simple. Very simple. It is not hard to do this. And you can do this with every grade level. And the resources that I have available at the end this evening has this type of activity for every grade level 4 through 12. Just want you all to know that. This is just an example so you can see it in practice. All right. So then the context clues activity, this is one that was designed for 10th graders, right? So you always provide the instructions, the directions, read each sentence carefully. And I wouldn't give them all 5. Well, it depends on the student. Let me say that. Some students would see 5 sentences or 10 sentences and they will become overwhelmed, frustrated, they would check out. But if you do 1 sentence at a time or 2 sentences at a time, that may be more palatable for them, right? It won't stress them out. You know your children best. You know what works for them. If they can have 5 sentences before them or 10 sentences before them, go for it. But if you know you have a student that even hears the term assess and freaks out, 1 sentence at a time, keep them calm, cool, and collected. That's how they're going to perform best. We need to set the stage, right? So these are some sentences. The student's assertion that homework was unnecessary was met with skepticism, especially since she had no evidence to support her claim. Now, remember, this is 10th grade, right? So normally there will be a bolded word, right? And you would choose that bolded. Well, I don't know why that didn't bold when I copied that over. I'm so sorry. But in any case, you would have a bolded word, say, for example, skepticism, right? That may be the bolded word. So they would use the context clues, that sentence in its entirety to tell you what the word skepticism meant. And then you want them to attempt to write a definition in their own words or verbally tell you the definition in their own words. So you would do that to assess if they can use context clues, right, to understand, build their vocabulary. I hope this is making sense. All right, y'all. Good. Hey, Sherry, thank you for the comments. I appreciate you engaging for sure. And I invite others to do it. Now, this is an example for 4th grade, right? So this is the vocabulary confidence rating activity. So all you would do is have a list of words. You have your scale 1 through 4. You're going to read a word or show a word to a student. And for each word, they're going to tell you, I don't know it. I've heard it. Oh, I know that word. I can use that word. That's the mastery part. Do they know it? Can they use it? Right? That's the goal. So we would do that with, again, about 5 to 10 words. And for each word, we just have them indicate what that rating is for them. Simple, not difficult. I'm telling you guys, parents, you can do this at home. Early career educators or educators that have not had the exposure to the science of reading or structured literacy, you can do these things, all right? So if we all do them, then we impact more children. We're moving children much quicker. We're shrinking those gaps. We're closing those gaps and challenges that they may have, all right? So I just wanted you to see examples of each of the areas that I previously talked about, all right? So then you say, okay, Katina, I'm with you. I'm following you. That's easy. We got it. So then you want to talk about assessing their morphology skills, right? So you can take, again, a list of 5 to 10 words, show them a word that includes some prefixes and or suffixes, some word roots that would be common for their particular grade level. And you want to ask them to break down, chunk out, right, these more complex words, and you want to discuss what each part means. Why is that helpful? Because then when they encounter an unfamiliar word or a new word, if they already know those prefixes, if they know those suffixes, if they know those root words, they are able to not only use the context clues, but the actual word parts themselves to determine what a new or unfamiliar word means, thereby expanding their vocabulary, improving their comprehension, making meaning of the text that they are engaging with. Ultimate goal, right? Yes. And so then semantic mapping. So have your children create word webs showing synonyms, antonyms, examples, non-examples, etc. And I love, love, love this type of activity because it does really show depth. So you'd have a circle in the middle, and I should have gave you all an example of this one, and I did not. I apologize. But you'd have a circle. In the middle, you may have a word like, I don't know, couch is one that I always use, or it may be a picture of a couch for younger students, right? And then you'd have spokes. Think about a wheel coming off, and you might ask them to do synonyms, words that mean roughly the same as the word in the middle. Well, divan, sofa, right? Those are words that all mean couch, divan, sofa. Different people, depending on where you grew up culturally, geographically, etc. It probably depends on the word in which you use to describe the piece of furniture that you put your behind on in your living room, right? So that's what we mean when we talk about word webs or maps. You can do the same thing with antonyms. You can do the same things with homophones. You could do examples versus non-examples, etc. So I just want you all to understand that these are two additional ways we should be assessing the vocabulary development of our children. Okay. So in total, we have 5 ways that we should be assessing their vocabulary. So morphology, semantic mapping, context clues, right? Let's go back. Our confidence rating activity, and then our vocabulary matching. So 5 different ways that we could assess them. And you know what? This is so easy that you could do an assessment in all 5 of these areas in about 30 minutes, if not less. If you prep and plan and are prepared, boop, bop, bam, you can get it done in 30 minutes. Doesn't take long, but it gives you invaluable, right? Priceless information. So you then can begin to support your children in developing, growing, building their vocabulary even more than they already have. Okay. All right. So I just wanted so simple vocabulary activity. So once you get that information, you come up with a plan in order to support them in their vocabulary development. So what can we do? Well, you want to track unfamiliar words in a dedicated notebook. Go to Dollar Tree or something like that. I usually have a journal. I'm a journal nut. Here's one. Hold on. Let me grab it, you all. Oh, I got 2 actually. 3, but I'm just gonna pull 3 out. So you might want to go to Dollar Tree or something like that, right? And you just get a basic composition notebook. Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, Dollar General, right? Five Below. Order them on Amazon. They buy them in bulk. But you want to track unfamiliar new words. I love, even online, for those of you who are technology people, there are some websites that give you like a word of the day with the definition. They still make calendars like that too. So just how can you track, introduce, support them, and not only support them, but you too. I think it's fun, but maybe I'm a nerd. I don't know. In any case, you want to track unfamiliar, newly learned words in some place that we can go back and refer to. So as we begin to write stories, write essays, write research reports, then we are not using just that basic old plain vocabulary. No, we're using more advanced, complex vocabulary that makes our writing stand out, our stories come to life, etc. This is another type of journal. You might, see my dreams journal my friend made for me. I love it. But this is one, you got a pen with it. Whatever you like. It doesn't matter what you use. The thing is that you use something, right? And then this is my theme for the year, believe and become. I made this on Printify. And, this is another type of journal, has a little spiral thing, whatever you want. I don't care. Let's just track. I don't care if you take some pieces of loose leaf paper and staple it together or put a binding ring on it or whatever. Just where can you track new vocabulary, fresh vocabulary that they heard on TV or in their favorite song, and they're like, what did that mean? We explore what it means. We write it down so that we can refer back to it later. During TV shows, right? Pause when you hear an interesting word. Discuss its possible meaning. Your movies or whatever. Do you really know what that means? Right? You ask that question. Don't assume that they know, because they may not. And if they can't understand what the words mean, that vocabulary, then guess what? they really aren't comprehending what's happening. All right. And then, of course, verbal conversations. Talk it out. Make it a daily habit to ask, what new word did you learn today? Make that, on the way to school, if you driving or you do pickup or, whatever it is. What's our word of the day? Did we learn a new word today? What is it? What does it mean? How can we use it? Right? That's easy. While I'm cooking dinner, while I'm doing laundry, just a way to engage and continue building that vocabulary. Maybe make them a vocabulary wall in their room, right? Like just make it fun and engaging. And then say, pick 3, today of your words off your vocabulary wall and use them in a sentence, or create a paragraph and use them. That also gets their creative juices flowing as well. Okay. All right. So we've done this assessment. I've gave you some activities now, and I should have probably flip-flopped those now that I think about it, but interpreting the results. So what do you want to look for as you interpret these results, right? So you want to look for self-definition. Can your children explain words in their own terms? That shows comprehension, true understanding. You want to observe usage, confidence. I talk about confidence all the time, right? Do they naturally incorporate new vocabulary in writing and speaking? Remember, reading and writing are interconnected. They intersect. They are dependent upon one another. The better reader, generally the better writer. Why? Because when we read, we are being exposed to new vocabulary that we can then apply to our writing. It impacts our writing and vice versa. If we write a lot, and we're applying our spelling rules and all the things, then when we read, we should be growing as readers as well. So is that confidence building. And we know that as their confidence build, they want to practice and do more, and therefore they build their competence as well. You want to check word analysis skills. Can they break down unfamiliar words in recognizable parts to determine meaning? They can if we've been consistent and intentional of teaching those morphology skills, prefixes, suffixes, root words, etc. They should be able to do that with any word you get. I'll never forget in college, for whatever the reason, I needed an extra class. I think that's what that's what it was. And I took a medical terminology class. Whew. But because I was a strong reader and writer, and I somewhat of a nerd, right? I have a lot of random knowledge floating around in this head of mine. I navigated that pretty well because I was able to use those morphology skills. My teachers did an excellent job over the years of teaching me those skills and allowing me to practice those skills. So when I got to college and had that medical class, that medical terminology class, I did all right. Okay. And then last but certainly not least, you want to notice context awareness. Do they use surrounding text to figure out new or unfamiliar words? That's how we want to interpret what is happening with them as our adolescent literacy learners growing and building that vocabulary, right? So that's how we interpret what's happening with them. All right, so then you say, all right, Katina, I've done all the things. I know all the information around why this is important, what we're looking for, how to do the assessment. I've learned how to interpret the results. But what if my child is struggling? What if my student is struggling? What do I do? Well, I'm glad you asked. Here it is, right? So if you notice that your child is struggling around context clue difficulties, then you want to use sentences or short paragraphs. You want to highlight grade level words that are nearby, and then you want to say, use the context clues, use the sentence, use this paragraph. What do you think this word means based on what you have read here? Now, I will tell you that, and you want to do this repeatedly, not one time and we're done. We want to do this a lot. Do it with their favorite book. Do it with a new book that they've checked out from the library, right? Because it is more than likely going to have new words. You want to do this and make it a common practice or a habit so that they then start applying it themselves when you're not even around. You have taught them the process of using context clues to figure out new or unfamiliar words. That is a tool in their toolbox that they will forever use, even when you're not there. right? Even when that teacher's not next to them. So that's what you want to do. Say they have some gaps around morphology, prefixes, suffixes, root words, etc. Then you want to create some word building games, right? They have tons you can buy, or you can just get some flashcards or some different color paper. I have this little thing. I don't know where I got these, but I have several of them. And it's I don't even know. This is what it looks like. But I love it because the paper inside are different colors. And this isn't one of my favorites. Let me get my other one right here. And you can even do post-it notes too. Here's another one, right? So all of my pages, you see those different colors? So you could put prefixes on one color, suffixes on another color, word roots on another color, and you can create a game. Let's build some words, right? You can get online and make word searches, and then talk about the different parts of the words. You can make not word searches. What's the other one, y'all? The crosswords, right? So you give clues and they have to figure out the prefix, or give them clues and they have to figure out what the suffix is, etc. You want to make it fun. You want to make it engaging. It does not have to be drill and kill. You want to be able to enjoy it. They want to be able to enjoy it. You do not want to make this drudgery. Is drudgery a word? I think you don't want to make it, oh, I don't want to do this. Oh my God, we have to do this. No, they get enough of that, sorry, in schools. So at home, when they're working on strategies and skills, we want to make it fun and engaging, as interactive, hands-on as we can do. Right? I love using beach balls, those like really cheap beach balls that have different colors all around, and I write on them. With the younger kids, I write letters. They have to give me letter sounds, all that. With the older kids, if we're working on morphology, why not write different prefixes, a different prefix on each color? We're playing catch. Wherever our thumbs land, they have to tell me what that prefix is and then what that prefix means. Something like that. It's easy. And I will tell you this also. Any of these activities that we are doing, you do not have to do it for an hour, 15 minutes minimum, 30 to 45 minutes maximum, and you go on and do something else. Not drill and kill. Do not stress yourself or them out. Okay? Just letting you know that. And then if they have low engagement, right? They don't want to do it. They're giving you a lot of pushback. Oh, I'm just not going to get it, what have you. Again, making it fun. What's their favorite rapper or singer? Use music lyrics. If they like graphic novels or comics, if they like spoken word or poetry, right? You want to be able to use anything that they enjoy, and you can craft it into a lesson, right? So if these are some of the struggles that you recognize, then these are some strategies you begin to use to actually practice with them to get to mastery of the skill. Now, say that they have more than one area. Start small. One focus area where maybe they struggle the most, they'll start having success. You keep practicing that, but then you introduce the next area where there may be some struggles or difficulty. We do not want to just, oh my God, we need to attack everything all at once. You do not. One thing at a time. Start slow for you and them, right? And then you build upon that. All right, let's keep moving. So these are my final thoughts, y'all. So what? So remember, the vocabulary really is a window into thinking. It really bolsters those critical thinking skills of your children. I don't have my helpers on and I need them. My eyes are getting tired. Then we wanted to vocabulary. You want to assess it consistently. I'm not saying every day, every week, every month, but every few weeks, as you are practicing and helping them and working with them, then go back to it. Assess, how are we doing with applying the skills and the concepts and strategies that I've been teaching them, that I've been helping them practice and learn. And then it's a confidence builder. All of the things that we've been doing over the last 54 weeks is about building their confidence, right? Because anytime we are building their confidence, celebrating those wins, those successes, what we know to be true for us, for them, for most human beings, when we celebrate what they do well, they want to do it again. Our kids are easy, right? Celebrate their wins, build their confidence. They want to practice more. That builds their competence. And before long, we have confident and competent readers, no matter their age, right? So you don't need teaching credentials. You don't need a degree to do this. You come to Teaching Tuesdays, right? Now, I will say that Teaching Tuesdays is the tip of the iceberg. If you're familiar with that principle, you get 10 to 15% above the surface. That's the part of the iceberg that you see. Now, if you want to do some in-depth work with me, send me a message. If you're in Kansas City, we have in-person classes. If you're not in Kansas City, we'll talk about what we can do to actually get some in-depth work going with you, your teachers, a group of parents, etc. All right. So just want to let you all know you can do this work. All right. So this is my call to action. This is my challenge to you all after tonight. Okay. I want you to try at least one assessment technique this week. Assess your child in one of the areas that we talked about this week, be it their receptive vocabulary, their expressive vocabulary, their morphology skills, or using context clues to determine the meaning of new or unfamiliar words. I don't care which one you try. I want you to try at least one or two of them, okay? Then I want you to post your experience in our Facebook group. Go to the Literacy the Dreams Way Facebook group. If you're not a part of the group already, join, because some of you may be tuning in from YouTube. But I want to see if you're working. Sherry's a tutor. Maybe she's going to try this with one of her kiddos that she tutors. I want to hear about the success. I want to hear about the win, y'all. All right. If you're a parent, a grandparent, an uncle, an aunt, a sibling, an early career educator, it doesn't matter. Try it, practice it, come into the group and let us know how it went. And then next week, I'm challenging everybody. Invite somebody new and to join the group, or to get on YouTube and join us for Teaching Tuesdays and engage and interact with us. This is our group. It's not my group. So I want all of us engaging, right? Give and get. Everyone add value, right? Everyone contribute. That's how the group stays engaging and informative and all the things. So those are my calls to action for you all, right? Again, I want to applaud each and every one of you that consistently show up for yourself, for your children, for your students, etc. Consistent engagement is what matters, right? Believe. The data tells us that 90% of our kiddos can master foundational literacy skills. You have to believe that no matter where your child is today. If you believe that and you walk that out, they will believe it themselves, right? And when they believe that they can, they will. What's that quote? I think it was Kennedy said. No, that probably wasn't Kennedy. I can't remember. But whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. Y'all hear me? Y'all hear me? Y'all with me? Okay. Build literacy through relationship. Interact and engage in a group. Get a group of parents that may also have children that may have some gaps or some challenges. You all build a village. Support one another so you know you are not facing this alone. And the data tells us that 75% of students who struggle with their literacy may have an adult in their life that struggles. It is never too late for you if you are an adult with your own literacy challenges. As you teach these things to your children, you can be teaching them to yourself. It is not about shame or embarrassment. It's about wanting more for yourself, for your children, and doing the things it takes to get you there. You can do it. I know you can. And certainly you want to continue your own educational journey by joining us right here for Teaching Tuesdays, or anywhere in your community. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm taking classes right now. I encourage you all, whatever you're interested in and however you want to learn, whatever you want to learn more about, just jump in with both feet, make the time and do it. I don't care if that's YouTube University, going to an actual physical class, or whatever, getting on TikTok because they teach a whole bunch of stuff on there too. Whatever it is, show up for yourself, show up for your children, make an example for them so that they know that learning is important, right? Keep learning the dream's way, y'all. Your dedication really is changing your child's future. 54 weeks we've been together, y'all. 54 weeks. Whether it's been pre-recorded or live, we've been right here together. Don't forget that our decodable books are available for purchase. You can scan the QR code, or you can go to www.d as in David, KC as in Kansas City, books with an S.com. So that's www.dkcbooks.com. You could purchase one, you could purchase two, you could purchase the set, whatever you need, we got you covered. All right. And when you do, make sure you let me know that you bought some, how they're doing, all the things, how you're utilizing them, if they're making a difference. Okay. And of course, for tonight's episode, I put together the vocabulary skills checklist, the vocabulary knowledge rating tool, and I created vocabulary lists for grades 4 through 12 that you can use not only to assess, but then you can actually use those words as teaching tools as well. So when you start putting activities and things together, you can use this word list. I have the words, I have their definitions, and I have example sentences. So you can go to that link, you can scan that QR code, you can access them. I don't care about you sharing them with anybody in your community, in your network, whatever you want to do, that is fine with me. All right, that's what I think I have for you all. You know what I always say, right? Y'all know. Can you say it? Can you drop it in the chat? What do I always say at the end of our broadcast each week, y'all? And we've done good today. 50 minutes, not bad at all. But as I always say, if you want to email me, send me an email message at info@dreamskc.org. Drop me, DM me on all social media platforms at Literacy is Liberation. But you know what I'm going to say, right? Let's get lit, y'all. I'll see you all next Tuesday. Bye.
Oh, welcome in. Grab a seat. Let's begin. It's Teaching Tuesday.